That's fair, Jay Prince, and great. You can be the Pookie whisperer. Honestly, it speaks to the bigger problem that a lot of our community unfortunately does adopt your mindset because they don't resource anything or research anything. We're excellent people, like excellent in just our DNA. Most of the things we do and strive to do elevate. It elevates actually everything we touch. What happens is that we unfortunately, and then one thing I do agree with you that you said earlier, that I think we're afraid. I said this the other day. I think a lot of people who look like us are actually terrified of success because in order to be successful, you have to be accountable first.
I just think it's important for us to just respect everybody's perspective and their life experiences. Um, we're all black here, so we don't experience racism, but we do experience classism. Like you can't invalidate somebody's opinion or what they have to say or what they bring to the conversation because of how you value them. Their experience and what they bring to the conversation still has its own separate validity. So I just feel like if we're going to talk about being adults, because there's a difference between being numerically advanced and being mature. A lot of us are 40, 50, however old years we are. But when we get in these spaces, it's very hard for a lot of us to handle other people's perspectives without being emotional, remaining logical and sensible and respectful. So that can be irritating in itself because, again, we have those roundabouts and we never really get to the meat of the subjects of what we're supposed to be delving into because now we got our hominids and everybody else want to go back and forth and then we're doing subs and then we're doing jabs and I just get sick of it. I come here because I like to bring value to conversations. I don't come here to be disrespected and I don't come here to see people go back and forth and not be able to just move on. But I get it. We're emotional and things happen. But at the same time, it's like how many incidents on these panels are we going to keep having these roundabout conversations where we can't get nowhere? And then like next week, somebody's going to be holding in some and then you're going to want to keep going and going. And it's like we never get to where we're supposed to be going. Like if you look at that time stamp, it's been almost 4 hours. I could probably count on my hand like 5 good points. And then everything else has just been us going back and forth. So like I say, some of us just need to understand that two things can be right at the same time. Like I can put that 6 down on that floor and put Willie and Jay Prince on opposite sides. Willie's going to see a 6 and Jay Prince is going to see a 9. We're not going to argue all day that their perspectives are wrong because they're right. So I'm just wrap it up and say, talk the talk, walk the walk, be respectful, and just treat people how you want to be treated. Like I feel like I'm in a classroom teaching right now saying that, but it's obvious that something is happening where we as adults, we just keep having these same clashes and situations. I don't know. I love everybody, but I'm gonna land my plane.
Does anybody know like why we had these clashes?
Yeah, you have niggas talking from one side of the tracks because they can't see the other. That's how the majority of the conversation we have where people disagree just because one is just we're talking about things that are pure speculation and conjecture. If everybody talked from their personal experience, we wouldn't have these problems. Because the first thing we have to understand, we have to do is that you can't invalidate somebody else's experience. But when we talk about things like, for example, taxing the rich, if you ask a bunch of non-rich people, that shit is going to make sense to them. Because a lot of non-rich people don't understand how taxes or money work. And they're financially illiterate. So to them, all they hear is, well, if you take less taxes from us and take more taxes from rich people, it'll help me. That's how they think because they don't know better. Or if you talk to a bunch of men about women's issues, about, reproductive rights and all of those things, or, you just have a panel of men talking about women being on the rack or saying being murder scenes and how hormonal they get. None of us think that shit should be allowed. But if you have a panel of women talk about it, they'll explain to you why, like, hey, yeah, man, my oxytocin is kind of off because my receptors aren't giving. I'm not able to have those neurons fire because of my hormonal imbalance due to me being on my cycle. So when people are talking about things from just their own personal beliefs, when it's not actually something that they've experienced, that's what happens.
So if people talk about their personal experience, they should just be like, from my experience, and not saying most or all.
I think if when we're talking about something that benefits us or benefits the conversation, like we're talking about a large group of people, then yes. But you've noticed I'm pretty good at speaking from my personal experience when it's relevant. But when I'm talking about a group of people, I talk about the majority, never the minority. And because when I talk about men, when I say most men are losers, you guys have heard me say that shit a lot of times. I can expand on it. I can support that with information, but I'm not talking about the minority of men because that's not what they are the minority. I talk about the most people because that gives you the most good. And if we focus on the small nuances, like we talk about hyenas and shit all the time, but that's more so because we have them on the panel, we have them in the chat. But if you notice that when we have the panel where it's comprised of like women that men objectively view as good, women that men objectively view as feminine and soft, like the Miss Pearls and the rest of them, we don't have those conversations. We're not having those talking points because we have the people who make up. We're having the people who actually come from the group that we actually want to have the conversations with. So a lot of the time, we just give too big of a voice to too much of the negative.
JR, there is a reason why you have these conversations, and there's a reason why I've been in this space ever since 2012, and on both media, Facebook and YouTube. Reason, I seen this video one time, and I think it was back about 2011 or 12. Earl Nightingale. He has this video about 30 minutes, and he talk about the percentage of men accomplishes their goals throughout their life and what percentage they won't go. And he used this this sample of two ships leaving the dock, one with a crew and plans and stuff and a destination, and the other one just put into gear to just go end up on a bark or something. And 99% of the time, that one with the crew and plan go end up to their destination. So that brings to the point is, this is why sometimes it is hard for older guys to be on these panels, because not only sometimes we have the statistics and the facts of it, but we have seen these things throughout experience, and we didn't get it right, so we know why it ain't coming out right for you all, because we didn't get it right. And the way y'all are going back is we have already turned it upside down, flipped it over, put every kind of spice to it to try to make it right where we can live with it, and it's brand new for you all. And so that's how we, by saying that we fail, is how we understanding how you are failing. And not just because you're doing it different from us, we just know sometimes the answer to what you're doing. So that's why I really don't get on a lot of panels anymore, because I don't want nobody to feel like I'm sunning them. You know what I mean? I don't want nobody to feel like I got the answers to all of it. I'm just a student of a student of a student. And one of the things I'm a student of is something been here ever since 1930. And it ain't perfect, but it have made beautiful women and strong men and beautiful men. And so if something is working, then that's what I try to share in my experiences.
So on these panels, sometimes I hear people say, if you don't got the results, then it's kind of hard to listen to you. But then I just heard you kind of say something similar to this, OG, that some people do have the experience and the wisdom, and they give good advice even though they don't have the results. So like, how is it that we kind of decipher what's good information and what's not good information if the person doesn't have results?
Well, it's just like going to the doctor.
Well, I've just opened it up for the panel. It ain't got to be just you, OG.
Oh, no, this is going to be short. I ain't got much gas in this helicopter, and I'm going to land this real quick. It's just like going to the doctor, and he's sitting there with a cigar, a $20 cigar in his mouth, and telling you, if you don't quit smoking, you going to die within 6 months. Now, you can sit up there and say, but man, you smoking that cigar, but he ain't got your problem. It's your results that you gonna have to deal with. So just because the person is not doing or having the results that you are having, hell, you go run into some kids can tell you something and don't have any results. And if you study them long enough, you can see where you can extract information even from a kid to imply it in your life and move forward. So it's not just what the person has the results. Sometimes the person don't have results and trying to tell you that this is why they didn't get the result by the same passion you going. And I'm gonna land that cop.
You should.
Can I say this quickly, JR, to this before we move on forward with the topic?
I ain't got too much further to move on the topic, JP. I'll just let you know.
All right, I would rather just say that a lot of people have this bougie mindset and they feel as though their way is the right way. And the reason why they clash is because they believe that the Eurocentric way practices is the correctable way. And so when you got people like me coming in, I represent a large majority of people. There's a lot of people worse than me. And so I think it will behoove these people to bring their nose to a correctable position on their face and try to learn from each and everything, because it's different experiences that's out there that they have ignored, that they ran from, or they turned their back against. But just because you turn your back against that don't mean it don't exist. And what's so crazy, this still is a part of your race. Pookies like me and worse than me, it's still your race. We still a representation of you. So moving this door to Massa is not going to change it's not going to take away the validity of the problems in from our real community that's really gave us, this outlook.
Yeah, I think that's fair, Jay Prince, and great. You can be the Pookie whisperer. It speaks to the bigger problem that a lot of our community, unfortunately, does adopt your mindset because they don't resource anything or research anything. We're excellent people, like excellent in just our DNA. Most of the things we do and strive to do elevate. It elevates actually everything we touch. What happens is that we, unfortunately, and then one thing I do agree with you that you said earlier, that I think we're afraid. I said this the other day. I think a lot of people who look like us are actually terrified of success, because in order to be successful, you have to be accountable first. And to sustain success, it means that you got to be consistent, disciplined. You have to be self-educated. You have to be aware. You have to sometimes even admit when you're wrong and also admit when you're right. And for whatever reason, there is some cancer that exists so much in our community that it's like, well, let's just adopt the lower level thinking. You trying to please the white man. That's some stupid crap. There is nothing wrong with progress. Progress is not a color. Like, it's not, one demographic of people. And you can see this if you get outside of America and actually go, just spend time amongst folks, because they don't look like you, but they're striving to be excellent. They're still striving to progress. So what my problem is with people like your mindset is that you try to push against progress. If you want to be the Pookie dude, cool. If you want to hang and, point the finger at those of us who don't adopt that same ideology, that's cool. But we can't, there's a lot of things that I can do that I know you are not capable of doing. And that should have respect. That should just have respect. I'm not shaming you for operating the way you are. I just find it interesting that those who are not in the position always claim that the people who are in the position need to do what they're doing, yet their results don't speak to what I've been able to produce. Or people
poverty isn't a black issue, and success isn't just a white issue. When people say you talk white because you can articulate your words, or they say, oh, you use slang, so you're talking like you're black. Like, it's the same thing. And what happens is like our community, we take advice from people about things that they've never done or they've never taken the time to understand. We have broke people trying to give people advice about how to get rich. We have women trying to tell men how to be men, and then we have men trying to tell women how to be mothers. So if we start focusing on what we actually can control, like to your point, True, as soon as you say that there are things that you can do that JP can't do, everybody on this panel thought of three things off the top of their head. They're probably three very similar things. And the difference is that you don't shame him for the fact that he can't go do A, B, or C. You just understand the fact he chooses to operate in a way that limits him from doing those things because his value system is like severely different than yours. So if you respect the differences between people I mean, again, looking at their results, you can say, okay, well, cool. He's okay doing this. This is okay for him, but this is not okay for me. But just because it's okay for him doesn't mean that it's, bad for me.